Shemeka, I want to talk with you about Jonathan Majors. He's the Hollywood it man for the moment. He's involved in a controversy about domestic violence. His girlfriend, I think, originally accused him of strangling her. She went to the hospital. The police arrested Jonathan Majors. And now 24, 48 hours later, they come out with a story that she signed 2 statements saying she wasn't assaulted, that there's video evidence backing this up. Part of me believes that Jonathan Majors and Disney hired Ray Donovan. If you're familiar with the Showtime show, Ray Donovan, he's a fixer. Ray Donovan would go in and fix up the messes of the elite Hollywood celebrities and things like that. And that's what this kind of feels like to me, how the man gets arrested and then 24, 48 hours later, there's statements saying he didn't do it. And anyway, I don't know what to think of Jonathan Majors. He's the star of a bunch of Marvel movies. He was just in Creed. Everybody seemingly loves him. Now he was in an Army commercial. The U.S. military is backing him with a commercial with him, and they pulled that until this thing gets settled. What's your take on Jonathan Majors and this latest controversy? Will this harm his career?
Jason, he is innocent until proven non-binary. And then he's really going to be innocent. I just think unless he was telling this woman, it's not you, it's me, I prefer dingalings, I just don't think that this is real. I'm sorry, Jason, he purses his lips way too much for me. And I hate to pin that on an innocent Black man, but it makes me uncomfortable when I see it. So I just, I'm going to wait until I hear more details. I don't think that it's going to hurt his career really at all. I've already seen people, coming to his defense saying that we've heard more in one weekend about Jonathan Majors than we heard about Dana White after we saw him assault his wife. Like, they've already started the what about Brett Favre for Jonathan Majors. Now, what about Dana White? I've seen so many people posting that. And so I do think that he's going to have enough support to say, no, we're not going to hold him to whatever she said, especially now if she's recanted her story, and he'll be able to just move on. But for me, I don't really see him as this woman beater. I just don't. So, but I'm going to wait and see, it'll all come out in the wash, but I don't see him as a woman beater at all.
So you do think he's innocent?
I do think he's innocent. I really do. Of course, I could be wrong, but, I do also think you can get with the wrong woman, and sometimes women blow things out of proportion. They call the police when they don't necessarily have to, or sometimes they're just upset. Things aren't going their way, and so they're going to teach you a lesson. It's so many things that could have happened. I did see that she was brought to the hospital because she was having some sort of mental breakdown, and that somebody has to be charged for this. I don't know, but I do know here that if you call the police out, more than likely someone is going to jail. And if they can, if there's scratches on one of the other persons or whatever, then that's you. If you're the person that scratched the other person or whatever, male or female, they're going to take you in, and you have to do the time here, which I think now is like 72 hours or something like that. So I think a lot of times women cry wolf, and they don't know that this is going to happen, and it gets blown out of proportion, and then it's like, oh, oops, I didn't mean for it to go this far.
I also think, like a lot of young people, like a lot of Hollywood people, Jonathan Majors may struggle with discernment and the wisdom that comes along with having a relationship and an understanding of God and the humility that comes along with that, that will make you struggle with discernment. And that's how you can be in all these Hollywood movies and be the next big star, the replacement, the next Denzel Washington or whatever lane they have him in, and be attached and be in a relationship with a crazy person because you don't have any discernment. You don't understand, oh, this crazy person could be a threat to me. And I only say that not to wag a finger at Jonathan Majors. I'm really wagging a finger at myself when I think about myself in my 20s and 30s and a lack of discernment, a lack of ability to see like, now that one there is a keeper, she's of sound mind and blah, blah, blah. And that one there is a nut job who may be a thriller in the bedroom, but will cause you problems in life. I had that same struggle when I was detached from God and not looking for biblical wisdom. And it doesn't mean I was an atheist. It just means that, my mind wasn't tuned right and what I just had very little discernment. And so that's what I see in Jonathan Majors from the outside looking in. And he perhaps can't even see that when you're that big of a star, the movie studios and the agents and the executives that you work with may actually be looking for ways to control you and may place somebody in your life, in your situation, who will give them the leverage to control you. Jonathan, we had to come in and fix this whole thing up. We had to get this woman to recant. We own you now. And so if we tell you to put this dress on in this next movie, and we got this gay character we want you to play, and we want you to play this transgender black man, blah, 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 just remember what we did for you here. And just, you don't have any discernment that the people you're surrounded by and who are funneling you all this money and opportunity could also be your enemies, looking for a way to control you. And that's when I look at the Jonathan Majors situation, that's what I see.
Jason, just for you to even say that, before you even mentioned him in a dress, I just thought about Ving Rhames. Wasn't that his name when he did that Holiday Heart and he was playing the drag queen or whatever? I could very much see Jonathan actually doing one of those roles. And it would be really sad if that's the case, that they now have this over your head, because we've heard so many times in Hollywood that they come to find out what your vices are and where your weaknesses are. And they set you up intentionally so that they do have these things to hold over your head with the ability to control you. And yes, when it comes to relationships, you do have to be very discerning. Like I have this thing where if a guy seems like he would kill me by mistake, I am running in the opposite direction. A lot of people think, oh, that's love, he's crazy about you. Nah, if he seems like he may kill me by mistake, I gotta go, because that's scary to me. I've seen it happen. And I'm watching everything. If I notice that, we've gone out on a couple dates and I notice that you're now being mean to people in my comments, like, why are you here? Oh yeah, she's so and so. No, it's a wrap. You have to be very vigilant about the people that you date when you know you are in the spotlight on any level. And so, yes, I think that as a young man in Hollywood, he better learn real fast which women to run away from, because it's a lot of them and they're nutty as a fruitcake. Like, you better know she's not the one.
This conversation reminds me of something that Anthony Walker, Pastor Anthony on our show, tweeted out this weekend. And it because I was thinking about the lack of discernment potentially here by Jonathan Major, and then I was thinking about the lack of self-control that is plaguing, I think, a lot of people, but young black people in general. And it all stems from, again, you disconnect from God and you disconnect from emotional control and discernment. And Anthony tweeted out 2 days ago, Saturday, and I thought it was one of the most powerful things that summarized my thoughts on many things. The only word that should invoke a response from me that changes my behavior, that changes the way I respond to someone else, is God's word. And so people for years have thought that I was crazy or didn't have enough, but there's virtually nothing anybody that can say to me that's going to provoke a response from me. And so, again, I've told the story about being down in Miami and hanging out at a pool party with Dan Lebatard and some people, friends of his, and some woman got all up in my face and called me every N-word in the book. And I never batted an eye. I never blinked. I just was like, I'm not, just because you're an idiot don't mean I'm fitting to be an idiot. And I used to say to people, your behavior doesn't control my behavior. And it's because I knew that, I answered to a much higher calling than just some idiot yelling and screaming at me. And when I saw Anthony tweet this out, I related it to Jonathan Majors and a lot of young black people that seem to be triggered. If someone said, oh, you disrespected me, and so therefore I got to get this, and it's like, no, the only person that you really should be responding to that should trigger you or should change your behavior or whatever is from God. And if we were attached to God and thinking about what he wants from us, we'd make a lot better decisions and would be a lot harder to trigger and to spark into in some kind of emotional outrage.
Jason, I agree with you. And this is where I have to be honest and say, I'm not there yet, because if someone does something to my children, I'm going batshit crazy. And that's just the bottom line. I'm going to be triggered. But when somebody does something to me personally, I do have a lot more control, because to me, it's just me. Like, what are you going to do? When they sit behind their computer and they say things, if I respond, normally I'm having a good time. I may be sitting in the tub or on the toilet or just wasting time having this banter back and forth with someone, because, what else is there to do? But yes, I do think we have to have our emotions under control, and you can't let those emotions control you. And what I've seen from a lot of young people, especially young black males, is they respond like their mother does. If you've seen a lot of men online and they start having this kind of pettiness, a lot of times it's because they are responding like they watched their moms respond. You see men now wagging their necks when they're talking and throwing up their hands just like their mothers did. And so I think that that's a problem that we have when you don't have men teaching men how to be men. All you have is them imitating their mothers. And we see this from just that willingness to actually be emotional. So like when I say if somebody does something to my kids, I'm going off just that fast. Their dad is not that way. He's a lot more level-headed. He's a lot more logical. Like he knows when something happens to our children, he needs to pull me in most of the time. And he'll tell anybody when it comes to her kids, she's a little crazy because my emotions get the best of me. And so when you see men that can't handle their emotions, a lot of times they've been reared only by a female, and they're mimicking that behavior that we can sometimes display where our emotions just get the best of us. And I see that a lot from a lot of young black men. They mimic their mothers.
Thank you, Shemeka.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys hop in the comments, leave your thoughts on what Shemeka and I just discussed. Thank you. Help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all of your fearless friends.